Today we are officially launching our strategic development plan from 2026 to 2031. And it's the first integrated strategy bringing together the work of the Department of Environment and the Department of Climate Change. It's not just a plan, it is a strategic reset. So a reset that gives life to our new unified ministry and our vision for a clean, healthy, thriving, sustainable, resilient Fiji. Very powerful words. As we look around us every day, dealing with a very littered and unhealthy, as well as unsustainable and perhaps not so resilient Fiji, the challenge is for us as a ministry, how do we get Fiji to a healthier and cleaner, sustainable and resilient place? This SDP is innovative in how it was built. It was designed and built by you. So each of you sitting in this room has contributed to it through a deeply consultative process where they listen to our staff, our partners, and our communities. It is our collective blueprint for the work before us, and its strength comes from being co-created, not just handed down from leadership. So during our consultations, one message rang out consistently: our people want to be heard. Talking about our people want to be heard, in just the last couple of months, PS and I have had to deal with backlash from the community on 3 projects. You know, the Waste to Energy project. Then we have the Raketi River project. And then just in the past week, the Namosi Hydro project. So you can see a pattern where our resource owners and landowners are up in arms for not being fully consulted. So my question to Cabinet and to government, what are we not doing right? What are we not doing right where we are going ahead with enabling investors to come directly to government without doing the proper consultations first with resource owners? Because once we receive, as our ministry does receive, as investor, once they tick the criteria, then we have a duty, yes, to conduct our own processes, including the EIA. But what seems to be missing is the consultation of the public, especially resource owners, when we are dealing with projects that affect resource owners. So what are we not doing right is my challenge to Cabinet. Because we can't afford, once we are engaging our government processes, to then have the community, to have our resources owners come and say, well, we were not consulted on this. So where does the duty lie? Does the duty lie with the investor to go out to the community? Does the duty lie with our department, our ministry, as part of our process? So I believe we need to revisit this as a government, because we cannot afford that kind of backlash that affects our people on the ground, as we have seen. And perhaps some investments and some projects are stopped simply because of that process. So these are the kinds of feedback as minister and PS or directors that we need to hear from you. You have the inkling there's something wrong with the process. Tell us. Because when you go out for public consultations after the process has begun, often you will hear that sentiment. Why were we not consulted first? before government processes are engaged? It's a valid question. So when you're talking about our people wanting to be heard, this is most important for us as a ministry. Our work is technical, yes. Our work is governed by processes, yes. But we must always keep front and center the human face of our work, our people. And how can we make things easier for our people as a government? There is no point having processes and ticking the boxes or complying with legislation and laws if it's not working for our people. Because we are here, we work for our people. They pay us. So we work for them. There's a recognized need to move services closer to the people and deepen community engagement. I floated the idea to PS just in the past week that perhaps we may need to open a Nandi office because of the amount of work that the Lautoka office is handling from Singatoka all the way to Ra. That's a big area of coverage. So we're exploring the possibility of opening a Nandi office, and you can divide the work. And if we cannot add more staff in the next budget, then perhaps decentralizing will help in your workload as well, so that you focus on those areas only. So that is work in progress, but it is about moving our services closer to the people. And as you saw too from the waste to energy project consultations and some concerns raised from the Nandi side of Wunda, that they had to go all the way to Lautoka to register their objections or to look at the EIA, even in the Wunda Saweni area, which may not be convenient for them. So there are valid reasons to explore opening a Nandi office, so PS and I will be working on that. Now the SDP puts people at the center and embracing the woven approach to resilient development. This was first articulated in the National Climate Change Policy. This approach pushes against silos and encourages us to embrace interconnections and overlaps between environmental protection, climate action, and economic development. For years, both departments worked for the best interests of our environment and people, but did so from different angles and entry points. You worked under separate mandates and from separate houses. Uniting as one ministry in 2023 gave us an extraordinary opportunity. This SDP seizes that opportunity to break down the silos, ensuring that nature-based solutions, biodiversity protection, and climate resilience are no longer parallel, but integrated. So the plan sets out 5 overarching goals. 1, supporting informed citizens. 2, strengthening community resilience and private sector engagement. 3, safeguarding our natural resources. 4, increasing strategic partnerships. And 5, strengthening internal governance within the ministry. Now you will go into further detail today on the SDP, but I wanted to specifically talk about increasing strategic partnerships. And I want to challenge us as we continue to work with our people on the ground is to strengthen strategic partnerships with our community groups. Now you may have good relationships with civil society, with development partners, but having strong relationships with our community groups, our traditional hierarchies, our faith-based leaders, our Vanua women's groups, of course, district advisory councillors, with settlements and communities, but just building those relationships even further so that we are not, again, just dealing with technical work, but also building people relationships. Because we need that kind of goodwill and kind of credibility when push comes to shove in terms of looking at or dealing with major projects that come through. We will have the community behind you because we are already in good relationships with the community. So spending more time with our community leaders and nurturing those relationships is very important. That it's not, you're not just doing work for the sake of completing our processes, but that you're also building those relationships as well. Very important. If you're not doing it already, but I'm sure you are, but I'd like us to look at it from those lenses about building relationships in our communities. When you look closely, you'll see the innovation embedded within a commitment for evidence-based decision-making, which you know I'm a big fan of. It must be evidence-based. And our new regulatory frameworks for a circular and net zero economy, innovative climate and biodiversity financing mechanisms, and a dedicated focus on nurturing our own workforce through the MECC spirit values. Crucially, this document must be a living document, evolving alongside our annual COP, costed operational plans, guided by robust monitoring, evaluation, and learning. I want to thank PS and the team for defending us in the standing committee in the last few months. Not an easy task. Today, my Ministry for Information team is actually right now, at this moment in time, before the standing committee in Parliament as well. But it's really important that we account back to our people through Parliament, and you must ensure that we are absolutely ready when it comes to appearing before standing committees, that we've got to be able to answer, and that when we are monitored by the people's representatives in Parliament as well, that we are able to answer truthfully and cover everything. It aligns seamlessly with the NDP, our international commitments, and the 2050 vision. Now, our partnerships lie at the heart of this integrated vision. I acknowledge with gratitude the support of the New Zealand government and the UNDP and the facilitative efforts of Talanoa Consulting. Your collaboration has helped us craft a strategy that is both ambitious and achievable. To the MECC family, this plan is your creation and you will deliver it. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to each of you. To our permanent secretary, who expressed so beautifully, we are all crewmates on a shared voyage with our collective knowledge and shared purpose as our guiding stars. I encourage and challenge each of you, be anchored in the MECC spirit, the values you yourself set. Spirit stands for service, partnership, inclusivity, respect, integrity, and transparency. And also be anchored in one another, supporting each other. And this includes, if there are times, you as directors or you as heads, unit heads, you see your staff struggling, someone that is struggling with their work, take a step back and question what might be going on in the background, what might be going on personally that they might need assistance with, and counsel and talk with them. Often, even in the Ministry for Information, we have timelines and deadlines that are pretty strict, pretty like immediate. So if there is an event today, this morning, then I expect the staff to have it out by lunchtime. We have it out after lunch, but we're having to depend on media liaison officers of the line ministry to provide it, and we fall behind. But that ministry doesn't get pulled up. MINFO gets pulled up, and we get asked, how come this hasn't been covered and the media has already covered it? So we race against mainstream media to put out news articles and publish about events. It is a lot to bear, and I'm pretty tough on the staff, but I tell them, if you don't hear from me, that's good news. But if you do hear from me, that means it's important, and I need you to attend to it. So they know that about me, and I want to say that the same for you. I'm always going through PS because I can count on him, and he deals with you. But having said that, please know if there's anything that I can do, my door is always open. Sulu is there. Not that you are bypassing PS, but even if I receive that issue and I know it's something PS is to deal with, I will refer it to PS. Because if it's a work matter, but if there's anything else I can help with, let me know. Then we'll be able to get that help for you if you need it. Please. Just know that you shouldn't be alone in the work, very stressful and demanding work that you do. That we are here together. And I'm also especially talking to our directors and unit heads. And I know myself as a person that an organization depends on, that I have to turn up and I have to be ready with no excuses. But we too need help as well. So please seek help and talk to each other, support each other where you can. I want to wish every success for the workshop today as you go through the management internal SDB workshop, and that at the end of the day, we do want to build and leave behind a resilient, sustainable, cleaner, healthier Fiji. That is my wish, and I may not be here tomorrow, but you will carry on this work, and that's very important. So I wish you the very best today. It's very good to have our team from the West and the North as well. Where's the North team? One person. Is there only one person in the North?
There's 7.
Oh, there's 7.
Crisis.
Fuel crisis means a more environmentally friendly Fiji, right? We're burning less fuel and burning less, but it's sort of like COVID, wasn't it? COVID was very good for the environment department and climate change goals. God works in many ways, including mysterious ways, yes. But we always see challenges and problems as an opportunity to improve, as an opportunity to reflect, and an opportunity today to reset. So let's reset as a ministry. Let's be recommitted to what we are doing for our people, for our children, for our grandchildren, and for generations to come. You are defining that legacy today. And I want to thank each of you for being here and for your support on this journey. And I'm just very proud of each of you, and proud of all of you standing together, even through the times when the spotlight is on us. I'm thankful for your discretion and your resilience and persistence in carrying on with the work, the good work. That's very important. Thank you to our leaders that I count on. Because you do good work, I look good. So I just want to acknowledge PS and our directors, our unit heads, and of course Ashok, our IT, who's always getting messages at the hours of the morning, and I'm asking him for my password, and he's so very patient, and I look forward to just having this SDP roll out, and that again I wish you all the very best, and from me to you, thank you very much.
One, two, three. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.